This video is probably going to have some curse words. Just beware. So, I'm Ian Atkins, and you're watching Atkins Nature Aquariums. Obviously, if you clicked on this video, we're talking about freshwater versus saltwater, which is better, I've heard, which is cheaper, which is more expensive, which is more difficult, which is easier. A lot of these questions, a lot of these myths, I believe, are myths, and I want to debunk these today and actually bring some light to a topic that seems to be pretty popular. I know Reef Builders and KG Tropicals did a video similar to this, as well as Blue Dog Aquatics recently did one to this, and I'll link those videos in the description for you guys that want to check those out and see their views on saltwater versus freshwater, which is better. And to get straight to the point, I think both. Okay? Option C. Either or. But let's get into it. I've also been keeping freshwater and saltwater for a pretty long time. Not the longest, I am a young guy, 24 years old, and I've only been keeping fish since 2019 successfully. I've had little tanks and a 55 when I was younger, but those never really did anything for me. I never gained anything from them. They were just another thing. So, I was editing on my phone, and I realized I forgot to mention why the mainstream media makes this saltwater aquarium so complicated. So I feel like it's a lot of content creation. They need to create content, so they're always getting new stuff in. And people like us see that we need that, but we really don't. We really don't. Okay, we don't need calcium reactors, whatever. I always get that word fucked up for some reason. We don't need reactors or any of these filter rollers, or, well, they're nice. Like, this stuff is nice to have. And, I imagine guys that run them would never go back. And, I would love to have one. But do I need one? I don't think so. I don't think you need one either. Unless you really want one. Then yeah, get it. But, do you need an Apex on a brand new tank? I don't know. Yeah. I think that's it. That's all I wanted to say. It's just they jam pack a lot of stuff into their tanks, and I'll show you guys right here, right now, live on video. You want to see what's in my sump? Take two. That's my sump. Okay, got an ATO reservoir with an auto top-off pump. Got a return pump reservoir, or a section where it's got a return pump and an auto top-off sensor. It's the Tunzi Osmolator Nano, so it's not just like a little electrical sensor. It's actually like a little float valve, which I like. And then in here we got a little bubble trap, I guess. And we got the skimmer. It's turned off. I need to turn it back on. But I just did a chemical clean treatment to do the cyano, and it's going a little crazy. So yeah. And then the two drains, and you can't really see it, but those two lines right there, those are for the dosing pump. All for reef. Just one dosing pump. Not a forehead or anything. But yes, the Comor F1 doser. Wi-Fi. But yeah, that's it. And if you don't know, that's the control above. And yes, that was a dry vent. And the thing I see that people overcomplicate things is the cycle. The cycle of the aquarium. For some reason, people still think that you have to do a fishless cycle. And I'm not saying do a fish in cycle. Those are barbaric days. We're not putting damsels or neon tetras in a tank to start them up to create the ammonia cycle. No, that's not what we're doing. Okay? There are products that I don't use, other people do use successfully to bring in bacteria. I like to bring in actual pieces from an aquarium to bring in bacteria. So like, I'll bring in wood, I'll bring in rock, I'll bring in a sponge filter from a freshwater aquarium, and I will set up a brand new freshwater aquarium, plants, fish, all in a day. And you know what? That tank's been running for almost 3 years that way. Stupid easy. This tank, right here, I filled it up with tap water. Okay? I put prime in it. I let it run for like a week just so it could, the sump and everything, leak test it. And I put some salt in there. I mixed it up. Put a heater in there, got it to temperature, waited another week, just to be sure, you can never go too fast or too slow. I mean, you can't go too slow to where it's like just boring, but don't go overly fast. We're not trying to be Speed Ranger. We're just trying to speed it up. Okay? I waited a week, maybe 2 weeks with salt water, and then I filled this thing up with live rock, 2-year-old live rock from an established system. Filled it up with coral, not filled it up with fish. I put 2 fish in there. Those 2 clownfish, this little girl, and that little guy right there. Where he is, yeah, right there. And I got them from a good friend, Shanna, and they are doing awesome. I love them, and I really want to work on a breeding project with them in the future. So stay in tune for that. But this tank, there was no month cycle. There was just put bacteria, get life, get things happening, and things are going to happen, and you're going to just enjoy it. I didn't have crazy hair allergies. I didn't have crazy diatoms. I mean, I had some diatoms, had some dinos, but I took care of those. Or not dinos, cyano. I took care of the cyano now. Look how clean that sand bed is. I love it. Why is the mainstream media overcomplicating things? Do you need these bottled bacteria? I don't think so. If you can just get a piece of fucking rock into your tank, you'll be fine. Not dead rock, live rock, established rock. And also I put rock in there from my other saltwater aquarium, which got started with a 7-year-old piece of live rock from a display tank at the fish store I worked at. 7-year-old piece. Imagine all the good, beneficial bacterias, sponges growing on that piece. And yes, there are some Aptasias, there's some bristleworms, there's some other uglies on there, maybe. Are they bad? And are you not going to get them later on when you ag a 30 frags you got from the frag swap? Probably. Show me a tank that doesn't have Aptasia or bubble algae. I know I got it in there, and I know I got it upstairs. But it's not a problem. It's only a problem when you don't take care of it. When you don't take care of your tanks. Moving on. Saltwater is expensive. I don't think so. If you're pretty frugal, know how to save your money, and find a good deal where it is a good deal, you will get pretty far. You can get to this level and not have to spend $3,000 out the pocket. Okay? And I know people might say that's a lot, but really, for this tank, it's $1,000 brand new. Then you gotta think of rock, filtration. This didn't come with any pumps, any lights, any of that. It's just the tank, stand, sump. I got this used, okay? That's another thing you can do. Pick stuff up used. And another thing I want to say is freshwater can be hell of a lot expensive too, okay? You ever go shopping online for some L number plecos, like some L236, or some zebra plecos, or some, I'm not too versed in my plecos, but and you want to start a breeding colony, you want 8 to 10. You know, you don't want 6. Some people get by with 6, but if you really want a sustainable breeding colony, which you will be able to make profit from, you want like 8 to 10 plecos in a large enough tank to where they can spread the aggression. All right, and then we get into planted tanks. These full low iron, rimless glass. They're still running them on canister filters, but I think more freshwater people need to be on sumps. And the lights, the Wi-Fi, wireless, this, that, CO2, that's not cheap. And it's not for everybody. And we're going back to that 80-20 rule again. You know, do you want a CO2 planted tank? I tried it. I didn't really like it long term. It was cool for the content that I made and being able to show you what I could do, but I didn't personally like it. It's too much maintenance. I was in there every fucking week trimming plants, stem plants, and that's why I don't like stem plants anymore. I'm a rhizome kind of guy. And yeah, I have all my CO2 turned off, but yeah, I think it's pretty fair. You know, there are expensive things in the hobby, especially saltwater, and you know, you got to think what's worth, like an RODI system. An RODI system is going to last you however long you maintain the filters. You know, those casings aren't going to break unless you like drop it or something, but then you can get replacement parts for it. You know, and especially if you get a good brand. A lot of these RODI filters have a lifetime warranty and a very good customer support system. So don't discredit that RODI filters are expensive. Up front they are, but in the long term it's really going to help you in your fish room, especially if you want to do saltwater. And if you want to do planted tanks without CO2, lower your KH and your GH. Cut it with some RO water and your plants will do so much better. I'm telling you. Because plants struggle in a high KH. I'm not going to tell you the science why, but if you have really hard water and you're struggling with plants, cut it with some RO water, get that KH down, and your plants will start to feel better, and they'll grow. Moving on. This is another one I hear. Saltwater is more profitable for the people that love to make money out of their hobby than freshwater. I think maybe not, because if you really think about it, how much money are we spending on salt? Are we spending on additives like amino acids and reef roids and coral foods and your additives like alpha reef and your magnesium, calcium, alkalinity, kalkwasser, or you're doing a fucking calcium reactor for those people. Like, how much did you pay for that? How much is the upkeep of that? And what corals are you growing? Okay, so right now there's a big hype on like tenuous and acropora, torches, you know, and those are the big money makers. You know, things that are easily propagatable. But I also see a lot of big money in like single polyp things. But from what I understand, those are expensive from the source, from where we're getting them, because they are actually pretty hard to find down there, especially those super duper colored ones. Okay, there's a reason those big fleshy corals are expensive. We can't propagate them. You know, I don't know if you guys have seen this at name dropping again, but Monsoon Aquatics. You know, they are revolutionizing the saltwater aquarium hobby by actually breeding, not just fragging scullies, Scolimia, Homophilia australis, but actually breeding scullies, like spawning them. It's crazy. I'll link to that article as well. That's really cool. And so, if you could breed scullies, that's money. Like, but they had to get a grant. I don't know how big this grant was, I don't remember. But it was a big grant to be able to actually do this, to make these bounds. Sorry for the interruption. So, on the flip of the coin, freshwater. There's not a whole lot of like stuff you gotta pay for other than a water conditioner. You know, if you got really good tap water, all you're using is water conditioner. Or if you got carbon blocks, all you're paying is $20 carbon block filter, or $40 if you got two of them. Okay? And then you gotta pay for food. We all gotta pay for food. Okay, that's a given. If you're keeping fish, you're paying for food. And the time spent. Now, how much is your time spent worth? Now, I imagine a lot of you coral people that are not sharing, but growing corals to sell, you got pretty complicated systems. You probably have this and that underneath your stand, and a whole bunch of other, like, Neptune or whatever controller stuff. And that, to me, is a whole nother thing that you gotta keep track of. You know, I'm all about keeping it simple, so I'm not trying to grow corals to sell. The corals that I grow in my tank I'm growing to share. And that's what I really want to do. But freshwater, you get your hands on a good group of plecos, or a good group of rainbow fish, and some nice plants. You put your money in some nice plants, and you grow the heck out of those plants. And you sell them privately, you will be making money. As long as you keep that customer base, you keep new things coming in, you'll be making money in freshwater. And freshwater is a whole lot easier to set up a fish room. You can set up a whole fish room off of one pump. One air pump that supplies all tanks with one or two sponge filters. Two for redundancy, or because you got high stock tanks, you know. And then if you want to do auto water changes, do auto water changes. But I really love manual labor, you know. 20-something, I got nothing else to do but just do work. And when I'm not working down here in the fish room. So corals versus plants, which are cooler, I think they're both really cool. Because you can look at plants in the same way as corals. But corals are like a whole other animal, because they're an animal, right? But plants are really cool. And if you get into macroalgae in saltwater, those are also really cool. I've done macroalgae, you know, just simple caulerpa growing with some soft corals, and the caulerpa took over, and then I ripped it out, and I decided to add an emerald crab, and it ate all of it. And that was the worst decision I ever made, because I never got caulerpa back. Which I probably can find it somewhere local, but now I got just a ton of soft corals in there. It's just all leathers and delia, and it's just pretty cool. But I've also got tanks like this up there, where it's just Vallisneria, guppy grass, and Siswaster tang, and a Madagascar on the left. You know, super simple plants, but they just grow in. And I've got another tank where I've got super rare Cryptnerii Rosen Maiden. I don't know, super rare. You know, I love it. It's rare to me, because I got it from Bentley Pasco. Not many people can say that, I hope. But I got it from Stoverfest, from him, which I love. And now it's just taking over this 20-gallon, and that's a good plant to make profit of. Don't sell it for too much, because that's not right. You know, we don't need to make a ton of money. We just need to make a little smidge, you know, to feed these fish and keep them going. So it's not too much out of pocket. But, yeah. So I really love both. You know, I think it's fun watching them grow. You know, trying to figure out, like, why is this leaf turning yellow? Why is it got spots on it? You know, why is this coral shrunk up? Why is it all bleh? You know, I love to figure out why my corals and animals and plants, why they do what they do, you know? It's fun to learn. I'm going to get into another debate about hyped up coral names and high prices. There's a lot of crazy coral names out there. Don't fall into them, okay? And they're all like one little frag for like $500. You know, it's got some crazy colors. Crazy colors. It's this close and you're looking right at it. No, that's not for me. I want something that I can see from across the room. you know. And like with these blues and the camera, you're not going to be able to see a whole lot right now, but the when the daylight spectrum turns on later in the day, I love a saltwater tank in daylight spectrum because it just looks so natural. You ever watch dive videos? I've never gone diving, but for the lucky ones that have gone diving in reefs, in daylight hours, that's just peace. Total peace. And that's what I love about this hobby. It's total peace, simplicity, like just zenning out, doing the water change, cleaning that gravel, cleaning that glass, citric acid bathing your pumps regularly, you know. And then I touched about this earlier, but media influencers like Instagram, TikTok. I don't use TikTok, so I don't know about that, but I do use Instagram and YouTube as like my main platforms. And I don't post a whole lot on Instagram. If you do, it's Atkins underscore nature underscore aquariums. But it's just like what I see on there, just a whole lot of colors, whole lot of small corals, but not a lot of history behind the coral, not a lot of storytelling, not a lot of sharing. I see a lot of selling. I see a lot of vendors promoting the stuff that they just brought in, and they're chopping it up and they're selling it to you for a price that they bought it. You know, like, find it crazy. They'll buy a coral for like say $100, and they grow it out for a little bit, and then they make 100 frags, and then they sell those frags for $50 each. Now, to me, that's just capitalism, and I kind of don't like it, but it is what it is. People are gonna do what they want to do to make money, but I don't think it's right, especially when they take a coral from the wild and they go stick a funny name on it, you know. Corals with actual names. Okay? Milka Stylophora, okay? Milka Stylo, do you know that coral? That's one of the only coral we got from the Red Sea. Did you know that? You didn't know the other coral we got from the Red Sea? Pom-pom zinnia. And this coral, Milka stylo, has been in culture for over 30 years in aquariums. This thing's rock solid. All it knows is a fucking aquarium. So, super easy coral. If you get Milka stylo, get Milka stylo. I haven't killed it yet, so praying to the reef gods. And another thing. Fish-only tanks are way overlooked, I think. I think a lot of people go for the planted tank look, or the full coral look, and, you know, it's cool, but I also really just love a nice fish tank, where it's just got a good hardscape for the fish, and it's just got some big, bold, happy fish. Like this tank right here. I got the lights off because it like glares bad with the video, but these are my festivums and my severum and tiger barbs and those Monty rainbow fish. And you do want to talk about an underrated fish, the festivum cichlid. Mesonuta SP, doesn't matter what species you get, when they grow up, when they get to that, and they just get to thicken up and they get that sparkle in their eye, and ooh, that's a fiery fish. They don't like plants, so I don't keep plants in this tank. It's just all blackbeard algae. Sways in the current. And it uptakes nutrients. So it's pretty cool. And, yeah, I think more people should have a fish-only tank. Get back to your roots. You know, even if it's the saltwater fish-only tank, like, you know, get... Now, saltwater, I will tell you guys this, can be more difficult when it comes to fish, especially these wild-caught fish. I haven't had a lot of luck with them. But also, I'm not the best at quarantine or treating and medicating fish in time. And there are companies that do that, and it costs money. There are people that provide a service, and that service costs money. And I think, for what it's worth, to know that you're getting a healthy fish, whether it's wild caught, then it's kept in an observation tank, or whether it's treated for a very long period of time, where they know this fish is good, right? Or whether it's an aquaculture facility like Biota. We've got 2 fish from Biota in here, a Mandarin Dragonet and a Royal Grama. If you can find actually captive bred fish, that are disease-free fish, or disease-ridden fish, they're not going to breed and spread to the public. Hopefully, that's what we want in the aquarium hobby. We want healthy fish, right? We don't want to keep killing our pets and spending a ton of money on pets, And I hate to say it, but I see a lot of people in saltwater aquarium that just keep buying new fish, and I'm guilty of it too. I've bought some fish, but I can count on my one hand how many saltwater fish I killed. And I can also count on my one hand how many saltwater fish I have in this tank. And my tank upstairs only has 2. And it's been that way for a year now. Almost. When Benny got moved in here, he was getting out of that 10-gallon into this. But, so, what I'm trying to say here is research everything. Be skeptical of everything. Don't believe what the media is telling you. Okay, especially these people with a lot of followers or a lot of subscribers, and they tell you, oh, this new light that just came out, you need this. You need to get rid of that old one you got and get this new one, because I'm getting money from it or something. I don't know. But I don't see too much of that. But seriously, there is that out there, and be careful. Do your research. There is so much information out there. Ask questions, I use books, I use forums, I go to fish clubs. I'm in 2 fish clubs, the Saltwater Club and a Freshwater Club. The Greater Portland Aquarium Society and the Pacific Northwest Marine Aquarium Society. And it's just a really cool group of people. 2 different worlds. In the Saltwater Aquarium Club, there's a couple freshwater. And in the Freshwater Club, there's also a couple people that keep saltwater. So it's cool to see the merge, but there's also a very big divide. And that's why I'm here. I'm here to show you that we don't need to be divided. We are all trying to do the same thing pretty much, except for a couple people doing their own thing, wanting to make money. But all in all, we all care for our pets. We all love our fish, our corals, our plants. We love to learn about them. And as my motto is, we never stop learning. I feel like I had to do this video in front of the camera. It's been a very long time since we've done an actual video like this. And it's probably going to be long, ranty, and I'll try to chop it up as much as I can. But I think that's all I got. That's my debate. I don't think matters. People will say saltwater fish are prettier or freshwater fish are prettier. I'm going to put up B-roll throughout this whole video of freshwater fish and my saltwater fish. I have more video of freshwater fish because I have been filming them a lot longer and I've accumulated a lot more footage. And over time, I hope to get more better saltwater aquarium footage and be able to show you that to you guys as well. But I think I've rambled on long enough. So that's the end of this video. Leave a comment if you think I missed anything, or if you don't agree, or if you do agree, or if you didn't like the video, or whatever. Like the video, subscribe, all that, especially if you made it this far. definitely subscribe if you're new here. I would appreciate it. And just a small channel, no bullshit. I don't have a fancy camera or microphone or editing software. I do everything from the cell phone. And yeah, that's it. Peace.